Welcome to the Happy Mama Village podcast with Brian and Annie, a podcast about mamas, for mamas, and by mamas. Hi, everyone. This is the Happy Mama Village podcast, episode 7. We are your hosts, Brian Zielinski
and Annie Henderson.
And it's great to be back here in our village where we talk about all things pertaining to happy mamas, like relationships, parenting advice, drinking wine on patios, self-care, etc. Our last podcast episode was on self-care. And this episode is going to be a bonus. It's going to be a continuation on some tips for self-care.
Awesome. So today we have a special treat for you. Brian is going to share with you 7 tips on how to keep yourself busy while the kids are away. Brian, tell us a little about your niche.
So my focus is mostly in my coaching is with clients who are trying to rebuild their lives after a divorce or a breakup or a loss. Primarily, it's rebuilding after a divorce. And Annie, you and I, we kind of bond over this because we've both been there. We've both been through that. We're in kind of different stages of that whole process. And that really is what it is. It's a rebuilding process. You've got to start completely over because all of the dreams and plans that you had for your future when you were married is taken away. If there's a better word for it. I mean, it's all done away with in the process of the divorce. And so that leaves it leaves women sometimes with a feeling of insecurity, not knowing what do they want. Maybe they spent several years in a relationship where they didn't really get to make those choices. Maybe they had to surrender their thoughts and opinions to someone else. And this opportunity, as a single mom, you get to choose. You get to decide what you want your future to look like. So there is some hope and some excitement. It just kind of depends on your mindset. And that's what I'm here to help with is mindset.
Yes. I'm glad you're here for everyone. Divorce, people can feel like their identity is lost because their identity can be all wrapped up in their ex and that life they had and all of the friends and shared relatives. So starting over, I'm glad everyone has you as a resource.
Well, I don't know that everybody does, but everyone should have me is what I'm saying. And I think one of the things that's hardest is your identity as a mom. It really does change because you are now a single parent trying to parent your kids in your own household. And when they're away with the other parent, sometimes there's just a feeling, like you said, your identity. What do you do? What you've never had, maybe you've never had this opportunity. You've never had a chunk of time away from your children where you're not a mom. So what are you going to do with that time? How are you going to take care of yourself? What are you going to do to keep your spirits up? Maybe it's the holidays, which can be really hard. That can be a difficult time. So these are 7 tips to occupy yourself during the time when your kids are away. The following is an audio recording of a blog I did back in April called Time Wasters: 7 Tips to Keep Yourself Busy When Your Kids Are Away. One thing I pride myself on is my ability to tell the hard truth. I am by no means a yes man. If you ask me my opinion, you're gonna get it. That wallpaper choice is ugly. A Moscow Mule is a waste of time. Tom Brady is super annoying, and it's not okay to cuss unless you really, really mean it. There's a decent chance I'll offer up my opinion without you even asking. Telling the truth can be a type of charity, while sugarcoating a harsh reality can be cruel. Which leads me to my first point. Yes, it took me a long way to get to my first point, but here it is. It sucks to share your kids with an ex. That's the cold, hard truth. In a divorce, you might lose half of your retirement fund. Maybe you lost the house you loved, and you definitely lost the future life you had planned when you got married. But the most difficult thing you lose in a divorce is time with your kids. The silence when they are with their other parent can be deafening, and the void feels inescapable. Hey, I admit it, those first few hours when they're away can seem like a little gift. I could go get a pedicure, I could go to Target and walk around for hours with my pumpkin spice latte and buy stuff I didn't need. Heck, I could go to the bathroom without interruption. Praise Jesus. But the luster wears off very quickly, and we are left mentally taking time away until our babies return home. You check your watch repeatedly because that always helps time go faster. It feels lonely and depressing. Don't even get me started on holidays alone. I officially give you permission to wallow. A little. But another hard truth is that this is your new reality. I'm sorry your new normal looks so different than you had envisioned. So what can we do about it? We could curl up in our bed with a cheap box of wine, no judgments, or we can busy ourselves with fun tricks and tips. I like both options, but let's go with option 2 just for the heck of it. Here are 7 ideas to hopefully make the time tick by a little faster, and in the process, maybe you'll end up with softer feet or learning you like Chinese turnip cakes. Tip number 1. Mission Impossible or Mission Possible. Make a list of fun missions to send yourself on. Here are some examples. Who has the best burgers in town? Who makes the best donuts? Which restaurant has the best happy hour? Find the best foot massage place. Which museum in town is the most interesting? Pick one mission per weekend and challenge yourself to be a sleuthy secret agent. Not only will it occupy your mind and time, but it gives you a plethora of interesting things to share with your kiddos once they get back. Plus, you'll be super great to talk to at parties with all this newfound knowledge. So come sit next to me. Tip number 2, personal spa day. No reason to break the bank here, ladies. You are bound to know exactly 4.3 friends on Facebook or Instagram who sell beauty products like Mary Kay or Rodan & Fields, etc. Call up these lovely ladies and ask for some samples. Maybe it's a lip scrub or a facial mask or a new mascara. Test drive everything you can get your hands on. Pull those samples out from the back of your bathroom drawer and start working some magic. Maybe forego the lipstick you bought in 1997, but otherwise experiment and indulge yourself with new or old products. Quit saving that stuff for a special occasion. This is a special occasion. And of course, finish with a long hot bath, a bath bomb, and a cheap box of wine. If you can't waste at least half a day doing this, you just aren't trying hard enough. Tip number 3, rediscover your town. I've lived in the same city all my life, yet there are places and things I've never seen or tried. I bet the same applies to you. Make a list of local attractions you either haven't ever visited or haven't visited in a long time. For me, I've never been to Reunion Tower Restaurant in Dallas. Honestly, it may not even be called that anymore. I've never been to the Cowgirl Museum or the South Fork Ranch where the TV show Dallas was filmed. Take the weekend to rediscover your town without being rushed, without whiny voices, or having to hold a sticky little hand. Tip number 4, spring cleaning. It's go time. I don't know about you, but my anxiety level went up about 3 times their normal levels when I typed that sentence. Let's be honest, cleaning out and organizing can be an overwhelming and daunting task. Start small if you need to. pick the junk drawer. You know, that drawer in your kitchen that has your kids' flashcards you had every intention to use. It's got 2 rubber bands, a stick of gum, 10,000 takeout menus, and your retainer from 1987. Yep, that's the drawer to start with. Revamp a coat closet or organize your pile of shoes. Pick one area and clean it out thoroughly and get that crap organized. Not only is it satisfying, but you'll likely find some great stuff you forgot you had. Tip number 5, learn French or juggling or both. Pick up a new hobby or skill. Pick something wild that has no practical application other than you think it's interesting. Or choose something that's been on your to-do list for far too long, like learning a new language. Back in 2015, I went on a mission trip to Mexico, and I came home and decided I really wanted to learn Spanish once and for all. I Googled some apps that would help, and I spent hours on those suckers playing vocab games and learning Spanish. I put that in air quotes because it's now 2019 and I couldn't speak a lick of Spanish to save my life. But the good news is it's a time waster, and that's all we're looking for here, people. Something to pass the time until your chicks come home to the nest. Nowadays, you can Google anything, and YouTube is the best for teaching yourself new things. Heck, there is probably a weekend course to become a heart surgeon. My point is, the world is your oyster, or whatever the heck that phrase means. So just pick a hobby and go learn to be an awesome basket weaver or balloon animal maker. Tip number 6, adventure is out there. Travel. Go somewhere new or old, but just go. Get the heck out of Dodge. Don't think that traveling means you have to spend tons of cash. You don't. Be sleuthy and find some amazing deals. You don't have to go to Fiji. Heck, you could find cheap airfare to Cleveland or Tulsa. You could drive until you're tired, and then that becomes your destination. You wake up the next morning in your new location, find a cool little diner, visit 1 or 2 local attractions, and then head back home, taking a secondary route. The idea here is to just go and occupy your time and your mind with something new. The kissing cousin to the travel tip is the travel planning tip. Consider that tip 6A. Travel planning can be a great way to pass the time, but also create a sense of excitement for you and your kiddos. Back in 2013, I spent months planning a trip to Disney World for me and my girls. I was obsessed. I researched hotels, airfare, transportation, park tickets, and itineraries. Maybe select a road trip destination and then plan each step of the trip. Road Trippers is a great app for doing just that. I've used it myself and it was an awesome tool. Tip number 7, binge baby binge. That's right. You have my permission to pull on your stretchiest pair of sweatpants, lose the bra, grab your comfiest blanket and the cheap box of wine and binge watch Netflix for an entire weekend. Eat only what's in the house or order takeout. Get serious and get obsessive about your binge watching. This is the Olympics of binge watching here, people. So here are a few binge-worthy ideas. This is a judgment-free zone, so no judging my suggestions. So here's the list. Friends, The Office, Ally McBeal, Parks and Rec, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, House of Cards, Goliath, Grace and Frankie, Schitt's Creek, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Gilmore Girls, the Avenger movies, the Star Wars movies, Rocky movies, Indiana Jones movies, Jaws, The Hunger Games. Okay, this should last you for a little while. I mean, it could probably get you through your first 5 years. And that's a lot of boxed wine. The bottom line and the cold hard truth here is that you will be sad when your kids are away, but your life shouldn't cease to exist. Your experiences and your joys and your adventures can exist and you can thrive while you are apart from your babies. There is no shame or guilt in enjoying your life with and without them. This list is meant to inspire you. If you are struggling to find what will spark hope and excitement, please give me a call. As a divorce recovery coach and survivor, it's my passion to help you find your inner sparkle. That was a recording from my personal podcast that you can find on my website at www.rebuildingwithbrian.com. And that wraps us up for today. Thanks everyone for listening. For more information about life coaching or to interact with us directly, you can check us out on Facebook at the Happy Mama Village. The show notes will have our email addresses plus additional information. Okay, mamas, see you next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Happy Mama Village. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a comment, like, or share, and be sure to join Annie and Brian for next week's episode.